Hello and welcome back to the Oh My Gosh, You're Glowing podcast. My name is Lindsay Walker, and today we have another super special guest episode. Someone that I have really been very close with and working with for actually almost over a year now, which is really crazy to say. And
Insane.
truly, this podcast would not be complete if this woman had not graced the podcast with her presence. She has actually heard more of the behind the scenes of this podcast than anybody ever should. So I am so excited to introduce you to Shule Ozek. She is a shadow work and self leadership mentor, and she has actually been my mentor for the past year or so now. And there has truly the woman I am today is because of her. She has been behind the scenes of a lot of what I have been going through and who I have become today. And I could not wait to introduce you all to this woman. So, Shule, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was the nicest introduction. And honestly, it's been such a pleasure getting to work with you. And honestly, it's been all you. I'm there just guiding the way, but it's honestly been you. And it's been such a pleasure to honestly witness you stepping into who you are today. And I love it. I'm so excited to be here and have this conversation.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. And honestly, I say this all the time, and I know that you probably say it as well because we've had these conversations, but every single person is meant to activate or give you certain codes. If you're resonating with them, there's a reason you've connected and they're meant to give you certain codes, activate you. And you're one of the people that has really taught me that more than anybody else. So you're like, yeah, all of it's been you. And absolutely, I'm not going to give my power to anyone else or say, like, oh yeah, like everything is because of this woman, but also at the same time, the codes and activations that you have offered me, there has been times where I have said, this one thing that you said really resonated, and you were like, I literally don't remember saying that ever at all. That's great. I'm glad you remember that. And so it really has been this co-creative process, and the space that you have held for me in this time has just been so transformative in my life, and so I'm just really, really grateful. And, I've also watched you shift a lot in this time. And I don't think I've seen a lot of it or necessarily known a lot of behind the scenes because I'm sure you're not going to your clients like, guess what's happening to me behind the scenes? Like, that's just not the relationship. But I would love to know specifically in the last year, maybe 6 months, and what has your transformation really been like, and really to get you to where you are today in your business?
I absolutely love this. And I love that you highlighted that it is this co-creation because it really did, like, I see your yes behind it because, you deal with a lot of people coming in being like, oh, I'm thinking about it and like, dipping their feet in. But like when I see the people that go all in and they choose themselves, I'm so in awe by that because that's how I move as well. So I see a lot of that, and that's why I love to like really highlight that. I'm like, it's you that said yes and continue to say yes. That's the biggest thing as well, because you could even work with a mentor and then, be like, okay, well, I know the codes that they're going to teach me now after 3 months, and then go to someone else. But there's something really special about sticking with the person and actually like choosing to understand and implement and continue to dive in and deepen into that container. There's so much growth in that just the commitment to a space like that is, I believe, where big growth is seen. And I've seen that in my personal journey as well, like just really sticking to that like one mentor and being like, I'm not just going to move from mentor to mentor to mentor. And I think different people have different codes, and it's really about listening to, as you said, that intuitive, like that soul like pull, right? That's like, yes, I'm going to go here, and yes, I'm going to go there. But I think so often we get so consumed by shiny object syndrome in this space that we just go, oh, here and there, and they're saying this and they're saying this, and then you end up losing the actual truth of what makes transformation happen, which is that commitment, that deep, like saying yes, like going deeper into these codes. And I love that you're just one of those people. And I always say this, I'm like, it really takes a special type of person to do that. And I love that, yeah, we've just really been able to deepen into this container together. And honestly, it's been so special because we've really, like, as the containers progressed, so like we've grown together alongside it. So I love that you are bringing this question up right now with like how my space has evolved over the last, God, I would say year. God, has it been a year? Yeah.
Hmm.
God, oh my goodness. So with this, I'm like, oh, where do I even begin? Because it's been such a gradual shift. So for me, I think I believe that like a lot of spiritual people are called to create businesses to offer your work in the world, right? And I believe that it's because like this is the vehicle in which we are being called to grow. So this is the evolution our soul wants to do. So as a business owner, when you're in this world, you are often initiated into what you're here to bring, right? So
Hmm.
I really believe that that's how my soul has gotten me to up level and evolve, and that's really what my journey has been about. So when I first started this space, it was very much marketed towards spiritual entrepreneurs. And I was very much talking about money and, dealing with clients and attracting clients and all of the things. And that served me at that point in my life because one of the biggest things that got me to basically working one on one with entrepreneurs was I had to do a lot of self love work. And I think I've spoken a lot about this with you, I believe, where I was just put in this place where I had no choice but to, what's the word? Face the part of me that didn't see myself as valuable. So, as the part of me in business, like there's a lot of comparison in business. You
Hmm.
see people making X amount of money, doing XYZ, and then you think, well, why would somebody choose me? Why would somebody like want to work with me? And that comes back to what you shared earlier, where everyone has these specific codes and
Yeah.
they activate certain people and the right people will be drawn to your work, and you could be saying the same thing but it's going to land differently when it comes from you. And I really went on this journey of embodying that when I was called to work with spiritual entrepreneurs, and then as I got deeper into that work and as I started to reach these like milestones and the I would say kind of like the dream that they sell you, right? Where it's like, make the 10K months and, have the dream business and go traveling and, do all these things with your business and, attracting the dream clients. And I was living that life. And it was like I was reaching those goals and I was just like, okay, but why is it never enough? Why is it always on to the next thing? Why am I like, okay, cool, I got this and I know I can get this and I've proven to myself that I can create whatever I want, but why aren't I still satisfied? Why is it still like I'm holding my breath? Why is it like why is there this even if it was like so slight? And for me, like this journey has always been about true healing, right? It's not just about like creating the life on the outside. It's always been about like my relationship with myself. That's why I got brought into this world in the first place. So I couldn't like continue like that anymore. And I would say it was actually mid last year where I had this moment where I was like, all right, I have no choice but to like face this, because it's like every single time I would reach the milestones, it was just it was never enough. And when I really went into that, I got into seeing like I got into these deeper codes of realizing that yes, you can create your life. Yes, you can create anything that you want, but where is that coming from? That need to change things. Where is that coming from? That need to get that success, to hit that income goal? What are you trying to prove? And who are you trying to prove it to? Why isn't it enough? Why is it always the next thing? And when I really got to sit with those feelings, I got to really, because I'd been doing like work on that. And I really believe that we just deepen into our craft, right? So it's like I had
Yeah.
been doing that work. And this was just that next evolution, that next like radical detaching from that external thing and being like, oh, wait, I'm still seeing where I'm still giving my power away, right? I'm confusing the external world and what I can attract for alignment and how open I am. And it's a form of giving my power away, right?
Hmm.
So I got to this point where I was like, okay, let's go deeper on this. And that has been a wild ride because it really challenges a lot of what's taught in this space. And it's
Hmm.
been interesting to navigate that and teach that and bring these codes forward and then shift my containers to really embodying this truth when you see so much. It reminds me of like consumerism mindset online where it's like, manifest this, get this, and you can create this. And it's just like, you can. And that's important to know. And that's like, so many people don't realize that they have that ability, right?
Mm,
So it's like that, those codes are important. But then it gets to a point where I believe it goes a little bit too far and you lose the point of what this world is actually trying to teach you, which is your worth doesn't come from those things.
yeah.
And through this, I really believe I've come back to this like really beautiful truth that I like that drew me to spirituality in the first place. And that was this like co-creative dance with your intuition, where your intuition just guides you and you're just in this like non-expectation energy, and you're just letting your intuition show you the way, and you don't know like where it's going to lead and how it's going to look. And it's such a fun magnetic energy to be in. And that's the energy of true like potentiality. It's being able to like literally get the human out of the way, not know what's going to happen next, and just be here to enjoy the ride, whether it's something that you want happening, whether it's something that you don't want happening. It's like, can you enjoy it all and take it all as a gift? And that has been like really emotional to get back to, because that was how it's like. I always say to spiritual people, when when you first enter spirituality and you have that like period where you don't have anything to compare it to, you never experienced disappointment, you've never experienced what it's like to try and manifest something and then it not happen, you have nothing to compare it to. It's just this infinite like potentiality energy, and you're just in this like playful energy, and you're like, woo, like let me just um try this and do this, and let me flirt with the universe, and let me put this out there. And it's just, it's so fun, it's magnetic. And then in that time the universe was like bending over backwards, right, meeting your every need. You were literally seeing like synchronicity after synchronicity. You would smile when you see the synchronicity come up. It meant like, it was so deep, it was so potent, it was so magical, it meant so much. And then somewhere along the way you end up losing that a little bit, right? You lose
Mm,
that like excitement, and you end up becoming resentful and burnt out and annoyed and being like, oh, what, like this was never supposed to be that hard. And it's like, yeah, it was never, like your path was never supposed to feel hard,
mhm.
because and if it is, it's because you've lost that essence, that magic. And I truly believe that us light workers are supposed to bring that here in whatever we choose to do.
Yeah, you're not the first person to really hone in on that conversation recently, too. I've seen a few people been talking about, what they originally started creating. It used to be fun. It used to spark this joy and creativity. And it was like you're saying, it was just so new and fun. You had no expectations. And then somewhere along the way, it seems to happen when we then bring it to a business, is at least where I've seen it a lot, and probably you as well. Because, like you said, a lot of us are being called to go down a deeper healing path with building a business, which is great. But then somewhere along the way, we took this really fun, joyful, creative process, turned it into a business, got frustrated because the manifestations weren't happening and all these tangible things weren't coming to fruition. And now, we kind of have to balance like, yes, manifesting in the 3D, but then coming back to the actual enjoyment. Like you said at the beginning, when you first discovered the spirituality, when you first discovered manifestation, your intuition, all of the things that were so fun and playful at the beginning, that I don't know what it is about bringing into a business. Is it like, what do you think it is? Is it the money? Is it the expectations? Is it the comparison? Like, what makes it feel so heavy?
I think it's all of those things. I think for me at least, and what I've experienced working with like spiritual entrepreneurs, it's sometimes it even goes deeper than just survival, right? A lot of it's linked to our survival, right? Our need to bring in money. And if we can't meet those needs, it's like, that actually impacts our like, direct survival. Can we eat? Can we support ourselves? Can we, pay bills and all of the things? But then on top of that as well, I believe it goes deeper into almost like I see it, I've seen it within myself. It's like I need to prove that I can do this. I need to prove that I'm good enough. I need to prove like I've set out to do this thing. And this thing is so like, a lot of people look at a business as a risky thing to start. And it's almost like I'm going to prove to you that I can do it, that I'm good enough to make this happen. And it's it really does like suck the joy out of it. And I think what I've also noticed, this is a big one, and this is what I did. It's like automatically when a spiritual entrepreneur goes into creating their business, they automatically go, I don't know what to do now. I'm in unfamiliar territory. I'm going to look towards these other entrepreneurs who have these goals that I want. And I'm going to say that because like they're right, their strategy, their intuition, how they're doing it is right. So then they end up ignoring what actually feels right for them because they're doing it how somebody else
Mm.
is doing it. So automatically they just decide that their intuition doesn't know what they're talking about and this person has the results, so they're right. And that's what I did. That was like a big thing that I don't want to say fucked me up because are we allowed to swear on this?
Oh, yeah, I say all kinds of things. Say whatever you want.
Great. So I don't want to say that, but like, because I believe that everything happens for us. And without those experiences, I wouldn't be where I am today with the codes that I have. So it's been great. But that was where I believe, like, for example, let me just give you a little insight into like my story and how this all kind of happened for me. But I got to this point where it's like my intuition led me to creating like a psychic business, right? And it like popped off and I had no idea how to create a business, launch things, sell things. I had no idea. I was just having so much fun and I was listening to spirit and intuition. I was just like, yeah, let me just do whatever. And it literally ended up being the coolest thing ever. I ended up like a mentor, ended up endorsing my work and then doing giveaways with my work and then it brought in so much traffic and then it was this word of mouth and it was like wildfire. It was so cool to see.
Wow.
And then after that, I decided I didn't want to be a psychic anymore. And I was just like, it was a lot of energy. I didn't know how to ground in my body properly. It was,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know.
yeah. Yeah. Say no more.
Yeah, you get it. I was just like living up there. I was not tethered to my body. And as a result, it ended up making me like resent the whole thing. And I was just like, I can't do this. So I ended up pulling away from that. And then it got to a point where I was like, okay, I don't really know what I'm here to do and what I'm supposed to do. Again, I'm in this realm of no expectation. Let me just follow my intuition. So I'm following my intuition. I'm just doing whatever I'm being led to do. I get led to create, what the fuck, what's it called? It was like my first ever masterclass. The Soul on Purpose? No, that's not right.
I feel like I've seen it, but I don't remember what it was called.
I have no idea what it was called, but it was about finding your soul purpose, something like
Mm.
that. Oh, never be confused about your soul purpose again. I can't believe I forgot that. That was my first ever masterclass, right? So I launched it. I had no idea. Again, no idea how to do a masterclass, launch a masterclass, sell a program, but I got called to like create this program that ended up being one of my main offerings for a while called Multidimensional Living. And with that, like I ended up having like 50 people come in for my first masterclass ever. And in that first like month of business, I made a 10K month. That was purely following my intuition. I was like, cool, this is great. And then after that, that is when I started to like get in my head and I started to be like, okay, I don't know. Like, it's so funny that I did that following my intuition, having no expectation. And then I decided after that, I don't know how to run a business. I don't know what's going on. Da 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 da. I don't know shit. So let me, actually invest in someone. So I ended up investing, I think it was like 10K into this like business strategy mentor. And I was like, cool, guide the way for me. And it was one of those situations where I completely put the power outside of me. I listened to everyone else around me and I decided I wasn't powerful. I didn't know the way. And as a result, I literally ended up making like $0 months after that. Eventually, it ended up being like $0 month after $0 month after $0 month after $0 month. And then Spirit came in and was like, hey, now you're supposed to work with spiritual entrepreneurs. I was like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, that's so fucked up. I can't do that. So yeah, it's always been a fun journey. And then it was like from there, that's when I got to do all this work on like self-worth and really embodying that, we all have our own unique codes for a reason. And I really got to like embody that and just be like, okay, cool. I'm not listening to anyone else. I'm not looking at the external. I'm just going to embody my power. And as a result, it ended up blowing up again. And again, it was from me just following intuition. And I'm like, what were we talking about? Because I've just gone in a circle.
I don't remember. I just thread off of wherever you land, which is fine.
I was like, wait, what? What was my point to this?
Honestly, no, I couldn't even try to tell you. I'm sure if I listen back, I could figure it out. So it's super interesting hearing because I've heard parts of your story just because, as we're talking and as you're like mentoring me and things like that, like parts of your story will come up just as you are guiding me through something. But I didn't necessarily know the part where you had made the 10K month and then it was kind of like, you created this problem that didn't really exist and then hired someone because honestly, I feel a very similar part of my story was like you're saying, I just kind of did what I was being called to do, and it was very intuitively led. All of a sudden, made all this money, and then did one launch that felt like it was a failure to me, and I was like, oh my God, something's wrong. I need to hire someone. Now, to this point, it led me to you. So like I don't necessarily regret all of that happening, but it's so interesting to hear your story as well, reflect that back of you going through and leading by your intuition, all of a sudden things just start going off and popping off with your business, and then listening to someone else, and it just feels very stagnant. And I've felt a lot of that as well. And what would you say that you've done differently, or have you had that experience again, or was it just the one time where you're like, okay, I went from 10K to zero, and like I figured it out. Now I just don't listen to anyone else. I only listen to my intuition, and that has made me successful this entire time since. Or have you had another round of that? Hey, I'm going to listen to someone else again, and the money dip starts to come in, and have you repeated that pattern over again?
I would say I haven't. Because ever since that, because it was such a drop. It was like when I say it was like $0 month after $0 month, like
Mm-hmm.
no traction. It felt like there nobody was listening. It felt like
Mm-hmm.
nobody was there. So when I like it was just such a it didn't happen straight away. So it's like I had the 10K month and then I had like consistent money coming in. I think it was like maybe 3K, 2K, like here and there, like
Mm-hmm.
for a couple of months. And then it just slowly started to drop off and get like what, lower and lower and lower until it became like crickets and $0 months. And because that experience was so jarring. I got to that point where I like since I saw that, I just stopped listening to other people. And
Mm-hmm.
I since then have been very particular with who I learn from and how they teach. So I'm
Okay.
very mindful of working with people who claim to have the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I very much work with people who emphasize the importance of trusting your intuition, and their goal is to bring you to that voice and bring you to
Mm-hmm.
that self-trust more so.
I love that.
So
You answered my next question of like, how do you choose mentors? And you answered that perfectly. So
yeah, no, it's like it makes such a difference. How do you feel about that?
yeah, I love that, especially because that's how I guide now. Not that I'm business focused, I'm more health focused, but that's
Mhm,
my entire purpose too, is to bring people back to their own intuition, to listen to their body. So it's not like I have a list of like, this is what works. Like,
mhm,
everything that I do is tapping into each individual person's body. Either I'm guiding them, or, either there's parts of the work that I do that I may be doing more of it, but it's never
mhm,
me giving a prescriptive list, or I'm truly guiding them to all of their answers inside of themselves. So the fact that you're saying like that's how you pick people to work with too, I think we need more of that because and truly working with you as well, I felt that from you. That's how you lead in your containers as well, which has really helped me strengthen my intuition in a different way than I had previously. And truly, like when I came to you, I was looking for answers. I was like, fucking fix my business. Like this is a problem. And it honestly sent me down such a different path than my ego or my brain really wanted. But looking back, it really needed to go that way because how I was building was so surface level, was a little bit fluffy, was more just, you know, a little bit disconnected from my intuition, even though my business is very intuitive. And, you being the person that's like, let's go into your shadows, like your work is not for the faint of heart. There's been many times where I've been like, fuck, Shule, like what is happening right now? But like thankfully, it goes away and it's not you. You just have activated or triggered something within me. But it's been it's been so helpful for me to see those parts of myself to move through them. And I came from a place of just, using modalities to release emotions because I knew that they were impactful to your body, to your health. And what I feel like was super missed, which is what I love about your work and the work that we've done together, is it's like, okay, not just releasing emotions with these modalities, but it's like actually feeling them, actually going into what's coming up. Because I do think that some of these modalities, and that's all I can come up with, is they're just calling releasing emotions, things like that. They feel very um, disconnected from what you're actually feeling as a human. And I feel like when I met you, not that you were a certification or anything, but I actually have learned so much from you to how to process your feelings, process emotions, process energy, which has actually strengthened how I work because it's so much deeper than a lot of this surface level healings that are taught and that I've even got certified in.
No, I completely agree with you. I'm glad that you brought this up because this is like one of the things that I'm so passionate about, and you know that I'm just like
Yeah.
I go I go in on this in our containers. I'm like, "Are you feeling your emotions?" And you're
Oh my
like,
gosh.
"Fuck off."
That's probably when I want to throw the phone at you, but luckily
Yeah.
for you, you're very far away. So,
Yeah. That's why I do the Voxer containers, right? So it's like you can get triggered and then you can have a moment to like really sit with that activation. That's why I
yeah.
fucking love Voxer because you really get a moment to just sit with what's coming up and you get to really go back and like listen to what's being said rather than just having like a bunch of information thrown at you.
Mhm.
You have a chance to actually sit with what's being said and really like for me it's not just about like learning things to learn things or hearing things to hear things. It's like let's actually sit with what's being said. Let's embody it, let's understand it, let's like unpack it. And I just laughed when you were just like, it's my, like the work that we do is not for the faint of heart. And it's so funny because it's like, this is the biggest thing that I struggle to convey on social media. Like, I'm so interested to hear when you look at my content, do you think it shows the depth that we go to in the containers? Because I'm like, there's no way for me to actually to show like how deep it is. I think so many people look at my page and they'll be like, oh, love and light content and follow your intuition. And I'm just like, it is not that.
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, maybe you would. Maybe you would want your social media to reflect the exact energy that goes into these containers. But I will say it is a lighter version of what goes on. And maybe it's different. Like I don't know if I'm like the only client that ends up in like the
No.
deep dark shit or there's like
No, no,
others
no, no,
too.
no.
Okay.
It's like a rite of passage in my space.
Okay, fair. So great. We're all on the same page.
Yeah.
I would say that there is an essence to it, but it's so interesting. I think that you just have this energy and this vibration and this resonance that I didn't necessarily know that's what I was looking for. So even if you were promoting that of like, let's go into your shadows, I'd be like, what the fuck is that? Like I
Mm.
didn't know. It was just kind of the work together. And I will say, as it kept going, I was like, what the heck are we going to talk about next week? Like, is there going to be more? And it was just kind of like as you were saying, the more that you really stick with one mentor, one person to continue to unpack the layers and layers and layers, like that is where the gold really comes out. And I didn't know that. And I would have never known that at the beginning. I didn't even know what was 10 steps ahead because I didn't even know it was at the beginning. Again, I just came to you to be like, fix my business, which is hilarious. Like, she's not going to fix your business. That's your own damn business. But that's, where I started, right? That was like my awareness. So
Yeah.
I would say your social media, I would say it pulls the people in where they're at and what they're looking for. And I don't think anyone who's not ready they're not going to be attracted to you. Like, I just feel like there
Absolutely
is a
not.
resonance. Like, you still have this, like, no BS version, like, energy about yourself, even if you're not specifically saying, hey, we're going to go into like the darkest part of your psyche and you're going to have to like feel and process everything. And I'm going to trigger the fuck out of you and you're going to be really mad at me. That's just, I feel like not even needing to be said. Okay, now you can all hear it on here. So I guess if you listen to this podcast, you'll know. But you just have this energy about you that is like this no BS, which I think was also very attractive to me because I was like, I don't want the fluff. As much as it may activate me, I don't want it. Like, we need to
Yeah.
just like pass through that. And I've never been someone that's liked the fluff.
Hmm.
So that I think is just going to attract your people.
Yes, no, you're so, so, so right. I just always find it so funny because whenever they come into my world, they're just like, what the actual fuck? I had no idea what I was signing up for. But it's the in the best way possible because as you said, you meet yourself like you've never met yourself before. And all of these, like a lot of people that I work with have been in this space for years. They've been doing this
Mhm.
work for years. And yet it's like, how can I know all of this information yet not actually see any progress in my life? Why aren't things changing? Why are my relationships staying the same? Why is my business staying the same? Why am I staying the same? Why can't I grow beyond the patterns that I'm in? And it always comes down to this piece of embodying, like lack of embodiment. It's like, you don't need to
Mhm.
learn anymore. You actually just need to embody what you already know, and you need to hire somebody that's going to keep you accountable to that as well. And with that, on top of that, as you said, I just want to go back to that piece where you spoke about the modalities being understood in a very superficial way, right? And that's just so important as well because so many people are doing this work thinking that they so they're doing this work thinking that they understand. So what I'm trying to say is like they do the modality work and they do it to get a result, right? Everything is
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm going to do
Yeah.
this to get this. I'm going to,
Mhm.
do the breath work so that I don't have to actually feel this pain. And it's
Yeah.
actually like a form of, like, for example, running away from the pain. It's not actually you wanting to go into the pain. So you wanting to do breath work to get rid of something is literally
Mhm.
to get rid of something. It's to avoid feeling, it's suppression. And so many people think, but I'm doing the breath work, so it should be getting rid of, the pain. And it's like, no, it's actually avoidance. Let me meditate so I don't have to actually feel the chaos or whatever my mind is doing because you can't handle like feeling that emotion. And there's just so much of this in this space. Let me,
Mhm.
like, fake the high vibe so that I can get, but in that process, you're literally avoiding all of the pain or maybe PTSD or trauma or
Mhm.
whatever it is, grief that you've experienced. Like, literally, there's something you are running away from. And like, I've even been dipping into this as well and really studying the concept of desire and where that comes from. And I've even like seen now with desire, it's always desire when it's attached to the 3D is always escaping something now in this now moment. And that is
Mhm.
you literally running away from something that you don't want to feel, you don't want to see, something you feel shame about or whatever it is and feel unsafe in. And that's why you attach to this thing in the 3D. And there's just literally so much of that. And it's this constant running away, it's this constant avoiding yourself. And
Mhm.
it never goes away. Like, it never ever goes away. In fact, it just builds in the background. It builds and it builds and it builds and it builds until it avalanches into your life, until it just ends up being this thing where it just literally takes over. And then you end up going into those month-long spirals where you're, like, you've basically, I call it like the manifesting the shit spiral, right? Where it's just like you were avoiding, and it got to this point where it just manifested in a way that you can't avoid it, whether it's like manifested in the 3D, manifested into your experience, or energetically, it's like pouring out of you this emotion just built up to the point where it's like you can't fake it anymore. And then you end up just in that same cycle of going to the depths, burning it all to the ground, and then trying to like pick up the pieces. But again, you do it through
Mhm.
the lens of avoiding yourself because
Yeah.
that's what the community honestly teaches. A
Yeah,
lot
and
of
I know through the health space, they almost teach it in this way of like fixing the health challenges, which is, I'm trying to really shift that message and to not fixing. And sure, you can, like you're saying, you can use those same modalities, but it's really the intention behind it. If it's this like fixing, if it's this avoiding energy, you can do the breath work, you can do all these emotional release techniques, you can do all kinds of shit. But if the intention is still to fix or avoid, that I feel like that's what everyone is missing who is in that energy. And like you're saying, like it eventually will create this energy where you can't avoid anymore. And I think that's where these people feel like my life is just crashing down or these tools aren't necessarily working. And it's like, yes, but what energy and what intention is really behind why you're using these things?
I love that you shared that. Exactly right. Like, exactly right. And that would be so deep in the healing space, actually.
Hmm.
Like when you're healing your body, going
Yeah.
from fixing to, so what do you call it now?
I mean, the words I use is more of like, your symptoms are telling you a message. Your body is guiding
Right.
you to your soul's path. It has a message for you. It's more of that. It's getting out of like, you're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. However, we still need to support your body. We still need to do this work. Your body is still desiring a level of healing, but not from this, I'm broken, let's fix it. And so it's
I
really just
fucking
like
love
a
that.
mind shift is
Mm-hmm.
how I see it because I've seen the fixing and like you're saying with the avoidance, it's very similar. And
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like there's like a lack of depth. And to be honest, I think a lot of people are afraid of going into that depth. In fact, people have said, I am afraid of what I might feel. I'm afraid of what I might see. Like, what
Mm.
am I unaware of? And I'm like, I can't tell you, I can't guarantee you what is on the other side, but I know that through whatever comes up is better than where you're at.
Oh, that is so powerful. I literally had like chills hearing that. That would be so powerful in that like healing your body space, because I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of like, and I get that, right? When you're ill, like it really does, it can take you to a dark place, and it can feel
Yeah.
so, you can feel just so alone in it, and it feels like there's no way out. So I get that, but
Yeah.
I could see that there's a lot of disempowering in that space, like a lot of
Yeah.
giving your power away to other things, and that being the reason why you are the way that you are. So I love the shift
Mhm.
that you were just talking about there, where people would like it's just such a powerful way for them to realize that they can heal,
Mhm.
and they have the answer, and it's through like literally going to the thing that you're avoiding. You just go deep in that. And I love that we're talking about this in terms of healing, because like healing your body, because something that you said that you wanted to chat on, which was like my transition into moving from business owners to just like literally women who want to live their life this way. And like my work goes beyond just business, right? It's
Yeah.
just like it's all about your relationship to yourself, your relationship to life, your relationship to your relationships, right? Your partners, your
Yeah.
friendships, your family members, like it all relates. And it all comes back to this piece of
Mhm.
not avoiding yourself, of
Mhm.
going to the depths. And that's honestly when you unlock the most incredible life, like that life that you dream about, that life that you're just like, I want to be here and live this like magical, mystical life that's so fucking big, and that's, rooted in this potentiality energy. It comes with your ability to feel and release these parts of yourself that you're avoiding, because when you can do that, you allow so much more room within your system to actually just open up, to feel
Mhm.
safe within your body, to prove to yourself that you're okay if you do go into the darkness. You can navigate that space, because we're taught to avoid that space. We're taught that that space is wrong, or that we can't handle it. So when you prove to yourself that you can handle it, that you can see that the shadows, and that's why I do the work that I do as well. When you prove to yourself you can do those things, you just develop this unwavering fucking trust within yourself, where you're like, I've got it. I've got this. It doesn't matter what life is going to bring me, because life is going to be a series of challenges and a series of like breakthroughs and uplifting moments. It's going to have it all. That's the whole point of this experience. And your experience of it depends on your perspective and how deeply you're able to actually trust yourself, open your heart up, and trust that everything is happening for you. And it comes with this, it comes with your ability to go into the darkness. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. I'm so passionate about talking about doing this work, and really shedding light to how superficial this space can be.
Mhm. No, it really can be. I'm actually really excited that you are shifting away from, or not necessarily away, but just not solely focusing on entrepreneurs because as a recipient of someone in this space, as I've worked with you, I have felt that it's really applied to my entire life. And it's the really how I'm moving through life and the basis of my life that is supporting my business. So if I feel like shit in my life, my business is not going to go well. And honestly, it's been so much self-worth and self-love things that have come up. And that's why, I won't do something in my business, or that's why I stop myself in business and all of these things. And, sure, I could have these structures and that's great and that's needed as well. I'm not saying it's not. But if I don't actually have the motivation and the confidence in myself, then I'm not going to do shit. And even if I do, there's not going to be good energy behind it. And that's actually why I even came to you. And truly, I've wanted to recommend you to so many people, but I'm like, oh, but if you don't have a business, like maybe she's not for you. So when I heard you really shifting in this, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense just because I've watched internally the containers shift to that and I've experienced them firsthand. And they are so powerful, no matter if you have a business or not, no matter if your soul has chosen to make your business your soul's path of evolution or something else in your life, because you can just truly see through someone's soul and really, you're still reading. I've experienced this from you. You're still picking up messages. You're still reading the energy. It's not, in a intuitive reading type of way, but you're able to still communicate messages and bring people back to their intuition, no matter what their life is looking like, which I love.
I love this. I love that you've experienced that, like the shift in the container in the space, and you were reflecting this back to me because that is often the feedback that I get from my clients. Are like this,
Mm.
like goes beyond business. This is everything. This is my relationship to myself, and all of my testimonials are literally that. They're like this, like it's like this has been powerful in business, but fuck, holy shit, this has improved my relationships, my relationship to
Mhm.
myself, my relationship in life, and how I lead myself. And I love that you said it's like, how you lead yourself through life, it literally affects every area, your business, your relationships, your everything. It's how you show up in the world. So to me, it's like this is the most important work to do.
Yeah,
So
it really
it
is.
yeah.
So I would love to know because I've been talking to a few people and using the word shadow work. And because you technically, I don't know if you still call yourself a shadow work coach or mentor. I forgot how I even introduced you at the beginning, but essentially you do what you call shadow work. And apparently people have different ways of explaining shadow work or different ways of understanding what shadow work is, which was news to me. I thought it was like a general understanding. So I would love to know how you define shadow work. What is it to you in your world? And what makes it such an important piece of your work?
How do I define shadow work? I would say the way that I define shadow work is visiting the parts of yourself that you have locked away in a dark corner of your mind that you said that you were never going to look at, the things that you were never going to face, the things that you said that weren't a big deal, that didn't bother you, and you just locked them up in this little box in the corner in this dark room in your mind, and you're like, I'm not going to go there. And eventually those things just gnaw at you. They pick at you, right? You're in a conversation with someone and then you feel the trigger of that and you're like, oh, put that away. That's not safe to feel. That is how I describe shadow work, actually addressing those little niggles and those that darkness, that these things that are actually controlling your life and have been impacting your life, right? Because they close off your heart. The thing is with shadow work, with these like wounds that we have and these traumas that we lock up and then we choose not to look at, they end up acting as like, I look at them as like little, just like little barricades over your heart and over your life, and it keeps you in this experience of I'm okay so long as this and this and this doesn't happen. But that isn't an abundant experience. That is literally walking with limitation and your heart closed and condition, right? And it's like you aren't open to this entire experience. So when you're in a conversation with someone and you get triggered, you decide that person isn't for you, right? And you blame it on that person, and then you, for example, miss out on whatever that connection could be because something within you was locked up that you chose not to look at and was triggered, right?
Mhm.
So you end up like keeping yourself from so much of what you could actually experience. And that's just one example. So it could be anything. It could be, a client reaches out to you and maybe they say something that's a little bit activating. And instead of you like actually deepening into like learning what that activation was teaching you and what was it was trying to show you and giving you something to release so that you can deepen into this connection with this client and like really get to that next level in your relationship and as a mentor or as a coach or whatever it is, it's like instead of doing that work, you don't do that. You instead end up listening to that trigger. And often I see a lot of spiritual people thinking that that means that this isn't aligned. They're like, oh, I'm triggered by
Hmm.
this, or this has given me an uncomfortable feeling. So this means I'm not aligned in this. So let me go off and avoid this or avoid this thing. And it's like, no, that wasn't an indication that that wasn't aligned and you were supposed to turn around. It was an invitation to deepen into yourself, to let go of
Hmm.
this like barricade you have on your heart that's actually keeping you from deepening into life and this experience and letting go of these aspects of yourself that are trying to control you
Hmm.
and control your life. And when you live like this, I don't think people realize how much they actually close themselves off from potentiality and from how much the universe is able to play with you. Because don't forget, like you have free will. So if you're living your life with these like conditions and these, I'm happy as long as this and this and this and this and this doesn't happen, the universe is like, okay, well, there's only so much I can actually play with you. You have like set so many rules. I can't actually bring you things, right? Where it's like, for example, let's say that you're calling in, you're the perfect person. It's like, great, in order for you, like the fastest way in which you can manifest the perfect person would be this, but you have to go through this trigger, overcome this, and like deepen into this, let go of this, so that you can meet your person. This is just a dumb fucking rule that a dumb little scenario that I'm coming up with.
Love it.
But do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you could meet your person if you just like were brave enough to face this part of you, release this part of you, and then meet your person. But it's like, no,
Hmm.
I don't want to do that bit. I just want to meet my person. And the universe is like, okay, well, we have to go around this like whole big fucking thing and it can take like years. And it's like you put yourself on the timeline that's full of limitations, full of blocks, full of the same patterns repeating again and again and again because you're unwilling to face these parts of yourself. And that's why it's a big, like, this work is a big part of my work because I believe it's the work. It's
Hmm.
like the work that actually leads to your life changing, you changing. It's not going to come from you, doing the moon rituals, the, the breath works, the meditations, the yoga. Like, it's not like those are tools to help you deepen into yourself, to help you like practice things like presence and feeling your emotions in the moments where it actually matters, which is your fucking life. And life is just going to be a series of you meeting these parts of yourself that you stored away that you didn't want to look at. And if you want to be that person that's going to transform your life and actually live a big fucking life here that's rooted in the universe at your back, that's rooted in you following your intuition and which is what I believe we're here to do as light workers, it comes with doing this work. It comes with you being able to go into the shadow, to go into the darkness so that you can literally turn it into light.
Oh my gosh. Like just that entire whatever everything you just said right there. If you didn't hear that, go back and listen to everything she just said for like the last 5 minutes on repeat.
Yeah.
Because especially the piece about people not wanting to release. I think that's a big piece. Like you're saying, I
Mm,
want to attract in, a partner or money or this opportunity or whatever it is. I don't know if how much you see the release part as important, or at least like that's what I see a lot of come up in the health space is like, and even in my own life, it's this releasing part because it's this part where you actually have to trust that yourself and the universe is going to not even give you what you want on the other side, but something is better than what you have once you release. That was said poorly, but basically
no.
trusting that like once you release the thing or the person or the whatever, it's this releasing, it's this like trusting of letting go is actually better than holding on to something that's no longer aligned or that you're like really really comfortable with. I see this happen all the time. So when you said that, I was like, yeah, that's huge.
It's fucking everything. And I love that you brought this up because so many people think that it's like, okay, once I just go into like the depths and I see these feelings and I feel these feelings, then I'm good. I'm doing the work. And
Mm,
it's like, no, like, can you actually be prepared to release this story? No longer identify this story with this story, use this story as an excuse anymore. And that's so
mhm.
hard. And so many people think about like, their trauma and their pain and the things that their shadows, and they think, why would I want to keep this? Why would I want to hold this? And it's like, you do, because it's comfortable, it's safe, it's familiar.
Yeah.
You want to stay in those frequencies. You want to stay there because it's safe. It's all you've known. I remember feeling this. I've always had this like big story that I identified with when I was growing up, and it was regarding my dad. And my mum, like we had like a family breakup. My dad like abused my mum, and I was there. Sorry, I'm just like really open about these things, so trigger warning. But I really
Good.
do like just I share. I'm like an open book. But it was like one of these big like transformative factors in my life where I really had to like heal like my relationship with the masculine. It's like I had this figure that was safe, and then he completely changed. It happened within a split second, and then yeah, my mum and I were like homeless for a bit, and we were having to like sort our stuff out after that. But from that experience, I would identify with that story, and I'd be like, wow, we are so strong. My mum and I are so strong. We went through that and we have come out on the other side, and look at who we've like built ourselves into and who we are now. And like, the odds were against us. And I really used that scenario, that trauma, as a hero story growing up. I would share it
Mm.
with a badge of honor. I'd be like, look at me. Look at what I've done. Look at what I've overcome, and look at my mum and look at who, like what she's overcome. And yeah, it was just a big thing. And I remember I went on I like, as I was like healing, this was one of the first things that came up for me, and it was like detaching from this story, truly letting it go through the process of feeling everything that this trauma had to like offer me. And I got to feel it from everyone's perspective, my dad's perspective, my mum's perspective, my perspective. And I got to really release it. And it got to a point where there was nothing for me in the story anymore. There was nothing. I wasn't receiving anything, and I got to this point of releasing, and there was this grief that came with releasing this trauma, this story. And I remember like literally thinking to myself when I was grieving this story, I was like, well, who am I without it? Who am I
Mm.
without this experience? How do I identify myself? How do I move in this world? So, yeah, just this is reminding me of that experience. It was like one of the most profound things. And I was like, that was one of the most like traumatic things that I had gone through in my lifetime. Yet I wanted to hold on to that because it was my badge of honor. It was my story, my hero story.
So many people hang on to the, like you're saying, those identities, and really it makes them, it makes it mean something about themselves. So like what you're saying, actually releasing and detaching from that, it was like, who is Shule without this story? I think is so powerful, so important. And it also goes back to what you said earlier about, the tools and the modalities are great, but when you get to actually living your life, like the tools and the modalities are just for the practice to actually live your life. Like that was part of truly living your life and being in this moment of how can you actually detach from this identity? How can you find out who Shule is without all these stories, without all of these labels? I think that's, I really drive that home as well. So I'm glad that you said it about like, yes, all this work is super important that you're doing behind the scenes, but if you still are getting triggered and activated to the point where you can't actually live your life, there's something missing. Like we're missing the point because we do all these things to live. And that's such a powerful story for you. And I know that you've walked me through some serious like detaching from things, and you don't realize how much you're actually hanging on to an identity or a story until you are holding on so tightly to not let it go, which I think is super
Yes.
interesting. Like you're saying, it makes you feel comfortable, it makes you feel safe. Like why would I want it? It's just this, it's almost like a survival mechanism that you
Yeah.
have.
And often a lot of people like keep it because it's like if they let go of it and if they hope, if they like, so for example, it's like, let's say that I'm going to use the example of business owners here because this is like the best way I can think of it. But let's say that you've had like failed launch after launch, right? And then you go, okay, let go of the story, let go of that failed launch. And it's like, well, if I let go of the story, then there's a potentiality, like then I have to be in the hope potentiality or the potentiality that this could happen. And what happens if it doesn't again? And then it causes the pain. And then, it's like, I could get hurt. I could get hurt if I release this story. And I can't do that. I can't be in that energy. So it's so funny how like there's so many reasons why we would hold on to something in order to protect ourselves. But again, it's like this doing it because it's trying to protect our heart, trying to close our heart.
Hmm.
Um, and that is literally what keeps you from truly experiencing life and experiencing that, like I call it the miracle frequency, where life wants to play with you, it wants to flirt with you, it wants to bring you so much. And it's fucking bizarre to see how much we actually block ourselves off from when you live your life this way. It's actually insane to see how much you're missing out on. And it's like, I'm not even talking about the big things that you end up manifesting, right? The fun things that come to fruition, but it's like the little moments, like, you know, the fucking sun on your face, that first sip of coffee, like all these little moments in which life is wanting to give to you. And it's just interesting to see how we sit there and we miss life. We miss life because we're either wishing it away or we're trying to protect ourselves from something that hasn't happened yet. And it's so sad to me, because I'm like, there's just so much. And when you like tap into this frequency, you really get to experience what it's like to have the universe at your back. Like
Yeah.
truly.
It's so interesting that you're talking about this too, because it kind of goes back to what we were talking about even earlier in the episode, where it's like, you were saying that people don't necessarily want to get hurt. It's kind of going back to that they don't actually know how to feel, because going back to the avoidance and the disassociation and the running away from, like, we've been taught to, some of us have been taught to use these modalities as this like fixing tool or this avoidance tool. So now it's like, okay, but we have the tools, but we don't actually know how to use them properly with the right intention. And so now, we're afraid to feel because we don't actually know how to do that. And I'm just using we as a generalized statement. And so it really does go back to like everything that you work on, everything that you teach, and the shadow work that you do, and the really helping people to get back into themselves, to feel everything that is coming up, so that you don't necessarily have this fear of what if I get hurt? Because really it's not what if I get hurt. It's just, what if I have to feel this? Yep, that's part of life.
Mm.
That's part of living. And it can be scary and it can be daunting if that is something that you've tried to avoid for your entire life. And I can speak to that and I can say that as someone who has felt that way. And I think that you do a really great job to guide people back into that, and to, feel as safe as possible to feel yourself. That, yeah, you're going to get triggered, you're going to get activated, because it's not easy, but you're really guiding people back home to experience emotions. And I think that's such one, it's a tool that we as humans sometimes I think take for granted and avoid. And it's a tool as humans and business owners and just people and women in general that, we actually almost need to relearn. Some of us need to
Mm.
relearn how to do that, which is super, super powerful and important.
It's so true. And it's something I am still like teaching myself every single day, like having to teach myself to not avoid and to feel and to stop distracting, particularly when we have things like social media. It's just so easy to go into these patterns that we've been taught since we were children, right? And we've seen like every adult and every person around us operating in this way where they're avoiding themselves, most people at least,
Mhm.
right? Avoiding themselves, and just instead of like going to the depths, it's just, can I find a way to actually avoid, as you said, feeling this pain? And that's exactly what it is. That's where the fear comes from. And when you do this work with people like us, you see that the pain is where you actually experience the expansion, and you actually see that you're not going to die, and you're going to be completely fine. In fact, I believe you get to this point where you realize that you can actually thrive in challenges,
Mhm.
instead of getting to this point where you're just like, instead of like beating up on yourself and being like, why does the universe always do this? Why is this always like this? Instead, a challenge arises and you see potentiality. You say, whoa, like, what am I here to, like, wow, I was triggered. Like, how can I grow from that? How can I see that? And I think a lot of people get like triggered when I talk about this in this sense, because they're just like, well, no, like it's painful, and you have to like be real. Like the human experience is painful, and it has despair and it has grief. And I was like, yeah, it does. But a lot of it is based on our own creation and us, literally our perceptions, right?
Mhm.
Seeing things through victim lens. And you'd be surprised at how much actually goes, like, how much actually goes right if you choose to see it as going right.
Hmm. It's the perception. It's all about like how you're seeing life. It's the going back to like the intention. You choose what energy you're living life from. It's all
Hmm.
your choice, really.
Exactly. It really, really is. And you really get to embody that when you just, I would say, flirt with the idea of seeing a challenge as happening for you. And you could just try this out for like, try it out for, I would say at least a month. Try it out for a month, and you can always go back to how you were doing things. And again, this doesn't mean you avoid emotions. This doesn't mean you avoid like feelings. It's like you're seeing all those parts of yourself. But then where do you land? Who do you choose to be? Practice this for a month and then come back to us, come back to this episode and literally tell me how your life transforms, because I promise you, a lot of the time when a challenge is arising and you actually choose to see the potentiality in it after you acknowledge the reactions, you acknowledge you're human in it, but you choose to land in this place of power, in this place of what am I learning, how am I growing, how can I get to this like next level in it, um, you will see, you will see that this is happening for you, and you will literally see that challenges end up being like gifts.
Yeah.
Every single time I practice this, every single time I do this, I see like it's always happening for me, no matter how like annoying it feels at the time, no matter how like unjustified it feels at the time, it always ends up happening for me. And it's about just acknowledging that, practicing that. And yeah, I believe that like they don't even end up feeling like challenges. It just all ends up being like just an experience. And I love using the word experience to describe these things, because it's like there's no attachment to what that experience needs to look like, right? Like I feel like that's what it actually means to embody abundance. So many people don't recognize that. Like they sit there and they go, I'm calling in abundance, but they're calling in all the things that they want. But it's like abundance is everything. Abundance is all of it.
Mhm.
Can you hold it all? Right? And it's like when you can hold it all, that's when you're a true match to abundance. That's when you're a true match to expansion, right? But if you're like, I'm only calling in the good stuff, then it's like, no, you've completely limited yourself, right? Because what is the good stuff, right? That's just your human's perception. There's just
Mhm.
it's a wild how deep this goes, but yeah, you
Yeah.
end up really living. Yeah, like that's why I love to challenge people to do this, where I'm like, can you just entertain every inconvenience, every challenge in your life as happening for you? Just twist it. Just like after
Mhm.
you have your human reaction, just twist it and then see what happens, because you're
I
going to see
love
for
that.
yourself.
I love that. I truly, if you're listening, or the listeners who are listening to this, try that out because yeah, I love like just playing with the concept of perception and intention behind it. And yes, when you work with Shule, you'll hear a lot you'll hear a lot of this. Like just try it out. You can go back to, what you were doing before, but just try this out. And then lo and behold, somehow you'll be like, oh wow, how did I not see this before? Especially, with like the different challenges. And when has look back to your challenges and do you necessarily regret them? No, like look at what those challenges bring you. It's always just in the moment. I think if we can start seeing that, and especially like you're saying, like, it's always happening for you. We as humans just label these good things and bad things. And, we've all associated abundance with financial abundance. So abundance can be all kinds of things. So I love that,
Mm.
you really brought it back to this. And truly, I think we could probably go on for like years and years and years. Like, I just love this conversation so much, but I would like to make it, mildly edible to some listeners here. So thank you so much for joining us and just sharing your wisdom and your magic. And if you're triggered or activated today by anything that she said, like welcome to the party. I would say this is a mild version in the best way. I'm not trying to like scare you away from her, but you know this, Shule, you're truly just a gift to this world. And I'm just so excited that my community now has the opportunity to experience you as well. So, with that, is there any parting your words you would like to share, and where can they find you? Because I know everyone listens to this is going to want to run to chat with you, talk with you, work with you, any of the above.
Thank you so much for holding this space, setting this container, and just facilitating like such a powerful conversation. I always love chatting together. I think just magic always channels through. So I've had so much fun. So thank you so much. And Thank you so much for your lovely, kind words. It's honestly been such a gift, like getting to work with you as well over the last year and a bit.
Yeah.
I would say the best place to contact me would be Instagram. That's where I'm most active. Pop into my DMs. Let's have a chat. And yeah.
Sounds good. Well, definitely go check Shule out on Instagram, send her a message. And also, if there was anyone that popped up in your mind when you were listening to this episode, we would love if you sent it to them, shared it with them, tell them that you were thinking of them when you heard this episode, just so that we can continue to share the messages that are on this podcast that Shule had for all of you today, and so that her word can be spread far and wide. Thank you so much for listening, Shule. Thank you so much for joining me today. I absolutely love this conversation. I can't wait for everyone to hear it. And everyone listening, I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.